Are we here? We live? Alright, so as we get started tonight, just for full transparency's sake, this gameplay is not live. I recorded this back on the 10th. Basically, I had a villager move out in Animal Crossing. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be fun to, do a stream where we go get a new villager for the first time in a while? Because I've been working on my paintings. You're not going to see them. I don't think at any point in this recording I actually went and checked them out. But I have this giant fake painting collection, and I'm working towards getting real paintings. That's something I've been working on for, I don't know, a few weeks now, just booting up the game every day, trying to get a real painting, because I'm only missing two. I am missing, there's the two slides. I don't remember what they're called. It's like the left and the right slide. Left and right door thing. I have no idea what it's called. But it's the only two paintings I'm missing. So every day I've been booting up the game, going over to Harv's Island, and just kind of slowly, because you have to buy something every day for the stock to reset. So I've been doing that, and Peck moved out. Peck came up and was like, hey, I want to move out. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. It's been a while since we've had a villager change. I'm down for something a little different. Sure, let's go with that. So Peck moved out, and I was like, oh, we can do villager hunt, we can do stream thing. That'll be a fun stream. Oh, wait, I only have 3 days to find somebody new. Because you only have, once a villager moves out, you're on the clock, and if you don't find someone either within 3 days or by the end of the third day, that's it. They move out, and there's nothing you can do about it. So when it set up that Peck was moving out, I was like, oh, fuck. Well, now I gotta go find somebody. And so I pre-recorded this back on the 10th. And originally I thought it was only an hour. As you can see, it's 2 hours, or, basically almost 2 hours, just a little under. So that tells you how long the stream's going to be tonight. For some reason in my head, I thought we only went for an hour 10. But no, we actually went for 2 hours, almost. Yes, because this was recorded in the past, I do know who we end up with. And I guess I should be transparent. Right now we're just buying tickets. I'm gonna buy 50 tickets before we even head out. But just for full transparency sake, when looking for a villager, I was looking for someone we had never had before. That was the first thing, because I didn't want to repeat. I was looking for a female villager, because somehow our island is mostly male. Well, Peck's gone, but Sid, Zucker, Marshall, Cousin Pietro. Who else is male? I don't know. Our only females are Whitney and Audie. And, well, Sasha's non-binary. At least that's how I roll them, even though they're technically classified as male. So there's another one. But yeah, we only have 2 females on the island. So my goal, I do want to get another female villager. I think that'd be nice to have. So I was looking for one of those. And I was specifically looking for one of the personality traits we don't have. Because I know back on when I was doing the 365 days, one of the things I did at some point was I wanted to have a villager of every personality type. So, I think the 4 female are Snooty, Normal, Big Sister, and whatever the 4th one is, Peppy? I think it's Peppy. So we're looking for either a Normal or a Big Sister. Preferably Big Sister. Yeah, I think that's what I was looking for. So that kind of tells you what I'm looking. Of course, there are certain villagers, if we come across them, yeah, I'm probably just gonna pick them up anyways. If we come across Raymond or Julian or someone like that, where it's oh, that's one of those villagers I really like. Probably not Octavio. I would pick up Cherry again. Cherry is one of my favorites. I used them for the GTA 5, GTA 6 thumbnail last week. I used Cherry as my stand-in for Lucia, and I think that was good. So I'd pick up and I think Cherry fits everything except for the fact that she's already been a villager on our island. So she's kind of the one exception going into this. But other than that, those are kind of the traits I'm looking for. And, you know, sometimes I'll just know it when I see it. That's the other thing. There are certain ones where it's just like, I'll know it when I see it. But, yeah, I mean, I already know who we get, but, you know, just keep watching them and you'll find out. But that just kind of gives you some of my thought process last week. Because I was playing this game and listening to an audiobook, which I did not put in the fucking stream. I didn't put in the stream notes. Maybe we'll talk about it in the outro if we have time. Or maybe I'll just add it on here. But I have been listening to an audiobook. So one more thing before we actually get into things. One of the things we'll talk about in WIBE is Mountain Dew. Right, you can see it at the bottom there, Mountain Dew Mango Rush. I did pick up a Mountain Dew Mango Rush. I bought one, so I have it right here. And so I'm going to open it, try it right now, and then, you know, maybe I'll get my thoughts in a little later. It's a tall can, which, I didn't know it was spicy. Okay, so it's Mountain Dew Mango Rush. Mountain Dew with a blast of natural and artificial mango sweet heat flavor. What is it with drink companies doing sweet heat? I mean, I'll be honest, of all the sweet heat drinks I've tried, you know, the Flamin' Hot Cheeto Mountain Dew, the Fire Pepsi, the Cinnamon Coke, the sweet and spicy lemonade we had, last week, 2 weeks ago? I'd say this is probably the best one. The spice is not strong at all. I barely notice it, but I do notice it. But I don't know what it is with every place doing sweet and spicy drinks. That's just kind of the bit. And to be fair, Fire Pepsi was like 5 years ago now. Probably even longer than that. But I don't know what's up with spicy drinks. I do not want my drinks to be spicy. But it's not terrible. I've had worse. It's a Little Caesars exclusive. So I did go to Little Caesars, so maybe we'll talk about it. So what are we actually talking about? Well, we do have a topic of the show, right? I've called it the Nintendo Hate Train. And the Nintendo Hate Train is going to pull into Misinformation Station. Because, my God, I know it's just a vocal minority, but man, I'm so fucking sick of it. So we're going to clear up some of this misinformation. We're going to talk about some shit. It's a mess. We got gaming news. We got a good story, some other updates. You know, technically they're all kind of updates. Basically. We got two, even though we're talking about Misinformation Station, I do have two Nintendo stories in gaming news as well, because I really don't, like, there are certain Nintendo updates that I put in Misinformation Station, because people, for some fucking reason, have gotten big mad over it. One of which I get, one of which I don't get at all. But I do have two Nintendo stories in the normal news. And for WIBE, I've got like 4 food things. There was one we forgot to talk about last week, and then we got, the 3 from this week. All drinks or desserts, kind of both. I got 1 video game, and then if I remember, we have 1 book. I have 1 book as well, so we'll make sure to do all of that, and that's the show. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so for our main topic of the show, we gotta talk about what's going on with Nintendo. So, well, the original Switch Direct went very well, right? People were very happy with the Switch Direct. Sure, was it the biggest thing in the world? No, but overall, people were excited. There were some good games showing off. A lot of stuff for people to get interested in. And then immediately following the Direct, it's been a never-ending shit show of Nintendo just making poor decisions and misinformation and people being big mad at Nintendo for that misinformation. And then people clear up the misinformation. Because obviously, if you're going to shit on Nintendo and you're just blatantly lying, well, yes, you are right to shit on Nintendo. You need to get your facts straight. Because if you don't, your argument falls apart. Right? If you're going to shit on Nintendo, rightfully so, you need to be correct about what you're shitting on. Because it just kind of invalidates your argument. Not your point, but your argument of why, we should all be mad at Nintendo. So it's been a fucking mess these past few weeks. And there's been misinformation, there's been lies, people have been getting mad at Nintendo for no fucking reason. Or, the big thing is the double standard. Of people are mad at Nintendo for X thing, when in fact Xbox and PlayStation have been doing that exact same thing for like a decade now. That's what kills me. So we're going to talk about all of that. And of course, there are a few bits of news sprinkled in here, a few updates. That Nintendo Today app is still giving us little tidbits of information every day. So obviously, we'll talk about all that. But let's just say it's a shit show. It's a crapshoot, and everything sucks. It's worse than before. We tried to unfuck it, but it's fucked even more. So for misinformation, there have just been so much misinformation going around about the Switch 2. People just blatantly making things up. The number one thing that people are making up is $90 game cards. That, a digital game costs $80. But a physical game costs $90. This is the number one piece of misinformation that has been spreading for weeks, almost over a month now. This is something that was disproven within 24 hours. The Switch was revealed. People thought, oh my god, are digital games 80 and physical games 90? Within 24 hours, we knew that no, Mario Kart 8 is $80, Donkey Kong is $70, no matter whether you're buying physical or digital. And yet, even a month and a half later, just today, I saw a video of someone still spreading the $90 physical game lie. It doesn't matter what we say, who we tell. And if it's a bad faith argument of someone who just hates Nintendo and is just like, oh, well, fuck Nintendo, right? Like, it's all like a straw man argument, just something that's obviously false. Okay, right, you're malicious. You're actively spreading misinformation. But there are people who are coming out here and making like an honest plea, like, oh, you've got to boycott Nintendo. Oh, we can't let Nintendo keep getting away with this. Don't buy the Switch 2. Like, no, you fucking bozo. If you're gonna shit on Nintendo, at least be correct. Listen, getting mad at the $80 game price of Mario Kart 8, completely valid. If that's what you want to crash out over, completely understandable. But the fact that you're gonna lie and say that, no, actually games are physical $90, that makes your argument moot. Right? It doesn't matter anymore because you're just wrong. Like, if you're gonna be big mad, at least be correct. At least have proper reasoning to be mad at Nintendo. But they don't. So that's the main one. It's dying down more and more. But again, even to this day, I've seen people say it. So it's not like this train of thought has gone anywhere. But no, games on the Nintendo Switch do not cost $90 physical. It is $80 for Mario Kart, $70 for Donkey Kong, and then most other things are variable price points. Some games are cheaper. Like, do not quote me on this. I want to say Bravely Default is only $40. So, different games have different price points. This is not a one-size-fits-all universal solution. Companies are at their own discretion to do what they want. But there are no $90 physical games. And every person who says that is just spreading misinformation. So that's the first big thing. The second thing is the game key cards. So, when these game key card things was first revealed, I even made a joke about them. How they're kind of dumb. Basically, how a game key card works is you will buy a physical Switch game, but at the bottom of the box, it says this game is a game key card. And when you put it in your system, it accesses the internet, and because the physical game is not actually on the cartridge. The cartridge is just basically an elaborate download code that allows you to download the game off of the internet. So you do need an internet connection to download the game. You do not need an internet connection to play the game once you have downloaded it. It is a one-time download. Once it is downloaded, you do not need it. Again, assuming it's not like an online game. It is just a download that you can get. Now, in theory, you will be able to take these game key cards. Like, let's say I buy Street Fighter 6. I know that one's a game key card. And then I give it to a friend. That friend will also be able to put that game key card in their Switch, and they will be able to download it and play it as if it's a $50, as if it's a physical game. They will still need an internet connection, that one time to download it. But no, this is not. I've seen some people say like, oh, this is a one-time use code or something like that. As far as we know, you can use it multiple times. You can lend these codes out to friends. Yes, there is problems with this. There are people out there who do not have connection to the internet. I know it is current year, but even still, internet does not exist everywhere. And for those people, this does suck, right? For people who do not have a reliable internet, or do not have internet at all times, this does suck for them. And I get that, because, a non-game key card won't have this issue. Now, I've seen as part of this, some people, people spreading misinformation, have made it sound like every game is a game key card. That is not true. As far as we know, it is up to a developer basis on what games are game key cards and what games are not game key cards. From what we have seen so far, every first-party Nintendo game will be a not game key card, and they will have the full game on the cartridge. So, like the current Switch game, you just, like, let's say you bought, I don't know, Luigi's Mansion 3. You just pop it into your Switch, and it works no issue. Same thing with, like, let's say you're buying the new Mario Kart. You'll just be able to pop it in your Switch, and it'll work with no issue. In theory. Again, day one patches and all that, and we know Mario. I don't have it in here. We know Mario Kart World's gonna have a day one patch. So if you're worried about that, yes, that is a thing. That already basically has been confirmed. Other games, we know Donkey Kong's not going to be a game key card. We know Cyberpunk's not going to be a game key card. But for third-party developers, Bravely Default is going to be a game key card. Cyberpunk is going to be a game key card. Now, in theory, game key cards are supposed to replace download codes. Currently, you can buy games on the Switch that are just you can basically go to Target, buy an empty Switch box with a piece of paper in it, and that paper is the download code for the game. There is no actual physical game. Now, in theory, game key cards should be getting rid of that. Instead of buying, a download code, you get a game key card. But we do know that they are going to still be selling physical boxes with download codes. I want to say EA Sports Madden is a download code. You'll have to double check me on that. But that one sounds correct. That EA Sports on the Switch, Madden 26 or whatever it is a download code. It's not a game key card. It's not a game on the cartridge. It is a download code. Split Fiction might also be a download code. That's the other one, I think. So maybe there's a commonality between EA, but it feels like developers have been given the choice. And it mostly, again, it seems to be a third-party developer thing. Now, the rumor is, this is all alleged, the reason why we're seeing so many of these game key cards. Because, I think so far there are like 10 games. There's more in Japan. In the US, there's less. In Japan, there's a bunch of them. The reason why there's allegedly so many game key cards is that in the past, on the Nintendo Switch, if you were to buy a game card, like, one that you put in your console, as a third-party developer, you could buy a 2GB one, maybe. I know you could do a 4 for sure. There's a 4GB, an 8GB, a 16GB, and a 32GB. That was the maximum size of the game key cards on Switch, on the original Switch. And developers had the choice, so like, let's say you make a game, I'm going to use Shovel Knight as my example, and let's say Shovel Knight's only like 6GB. Well, hey, you can buy an 8GB card, put that on that cartridge, and hey, you've got 2GB left over, but, that saves you some money over buying a $16 game card, where you'd have all that extra space you couldn't use. Allegedly, on Switch 2, game cards are now bigger. Game cards can now be up to 64 gigs. However, the rumor is that, and this comes from a leak from, is it Atlas? There was a game that just, I want to say it's Atlas. I double checked me on that. I could be wrong. But allegedly, Nintendo is only doing 64GB cards for the Switch 2. So instead of having the choice between, 8, 16, 32, and 64, you could only buy a 64GB card. And allegedly, those 64GB cards cost $16. So, I understand for some developers, it's going to be, well, oh, you know, for like Cyberpunk as a game is like 60 gigabytes. So I understand, like, oh, well, you know, you buy the game key card, and that's only, you know, you only have 4 gigabytes left over. You fill up the whole thing. But for like Split Fiction is, let's say, only like 10 gigs. Why would you buy a 64 gigabyte card for that game and then have 50 gigabytes left over? The Switch didn't have this issue because they offered variable sizings. But allegedly, Nintendo is only doing one size. Is this a stupid fucking Nintendo decision? Yes. Yes, this is. If this is true, this is very dumb, and I don't know why they aren't offering multiple sizes. But basically, you can do 64 gigabytes, or you can do a game key card. And that's allegedly why so many people are buying these game key cards. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It's possible that this could be completely wrong, or, you know, maybe in the future things will change. But at the moment, this is kind of what it seems like. Now, I do want to be clear about these game key cards. This is not a Nintendo first thing. Other companies have been doing this for a long time. Sure, they're not called game key cards. And to be fair, Nintendo is more transparent about this than basically every other company. Like, if you buy, let's just say, a game disc, a game key disc, let's just call it that. If you buy a game key disc for Xbox, it's not going to tell you it's a game key disc. And there is an example of this week. Doom the Dark Ages came out this week. And guess what? That's a game key disc. That sounds clunky. You get my point. Doom the Dark Ages, if you buy that a physical disc, it is only 85 megabytes on that disc. The console reads that disc and then connects to the internet to download the rest of the game. This is a practice that has been going on for a long time now. Call of Duty has been doing this since 2016. 9 years. Call of Duty games have worked like this. But people are mad at Nintendo because they're being transparent about it. Because Nintendo wants you to know that, hey, guess what? Not every, you know, they're giving you that warning ahead of time that you need to download this game first. Yeah, people are mad at Nintendo for doing something the rest of the industry has been doing for, again, a decade now, almost. That's just, Call of Duty's the main example I know. But yes, this has been going on for a long time now. This is nothing new. But people are mad at Nintendo, and I don't see anybody complaining about Doom. That's the thing. If people were also like, oh, you know, Nintendo's on some bullshit here, and so is Doom. But no, I know statistically people are calling out Doom. That there are people out there who like, no, the stuff with Doom is bad as well. You know, we shouldn't just let one slide for the other. But if those videos exist, I have not seen them. I have seen plenty of people call out Nintendo for this game keycard thing. And not a single person has called out, you know, Doom. When, yeah, no, it's the same thing. Sure, they don't, like, Nintendo gave it a name. They classified it. And maybe that's what people don't like. Like, people would rather live in blissful ignorance than Nintendo actually classify things and give them, like, a reasoning. So I think that's part of the problem. Not the whole problem, obviously, but I definitely do think that is part of the problem. Is that because Nintendo's being transparent, people are mad about it. Because, like, they could have just done this and never said anything. But instead, they want the consumer to know that when they buy a game, hey, you're going to need the internet to play this. I know this is not a I want to be very clear. I know this is not a pro-consumer move. That, you know, for things like like, what happens when the Switch 2 servers go down? Game key cards, unless you already have the game downloaded, they're not going to work. right? That is a real issue that we will have to deal with one day. But people are still mad for whatever reason. It's the hypocrisy that kills me. If people were just mad at everything, I'd get it. But it's the double standard. Another double standard. So, I guess somewhere, something... I'll be honest, I'm not even sure about this one. But I've seen people say that, hey, Nintendo in their end user's license agreement has said that, you know, if you're, like, abusing their game, if you're, like, illegally buying their games or whatever, or if you're pirating their games, they can just take away your licenses. That you don't actually own your digital games. And that Nintendo can at any point just take away your license. Fucking duh. This is how digital games have worked for as long as I can remember. The Xbox 360 era. Nintendo has always been able to do this. Because guess what? You don't own your digital games. You have never owned your digital games. Doesn't matter if you're playing on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Epic Game Store. Guess what? You have never owned digital games. You barely fucking own physical games. And guess what? That's how game companies want it. Same thing with, like, movies. Like, if you're gonna stream a movie on, like, let's say you go onto, like, Amazon Prime and you buy fucking Mission Impossible and you go to stream it, you don't own that movie. You just own a license to stream that movie. And they can take away your license at any time. Guess what? I've got a personal example. I bought a DVD, Blu-ray, digital version of Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And it came with a digital code. I redeemed that digital code on Movies Anywhere, and it's not there in my library anymore. At some point, A24 removed a bunch of their movies from Movies Anywhere, and I lost access to my copy of Everything Everywhere All at Once. And while I think eventually those movies came back, did I get my license for that movie back? No, it's still gone. I still don't... If I want to watch that movie, like, on streaming, I either have to buy it again, or I have to watch it on, like, HBO Max or something. No, they can take away your license at any point. It has happened to me, and it will happen to you. And yeah, every console fucking works like this. This has been a thing for so long, I can probably find a Jimquisition from, like, 10 years ago talking about how you don't own your games. You know what? Fuck it. Let's see if I can do that. Let me put my money where my mouth is. Give me a minute. Let's fucking go. YouTube.com. I don't know why it does that. Jimquisition digital. Maybe like, do you own your game, or you don't own your games? Here's one from... Okay, that one's from last year. Okay, 5 years ago.
Game ownership concerns have sparked up once again after a licensed game from 8 years ago, Tron Evolution, is no longer available to buy or install and play, even if someone bought it. Users have discovered that trying to activate the game anytime after October is now an impossible task, seemingly thanks to everyone's favourite DRM, Securom. The story about a licensed game being pulled from Steam is nothing new. That unfortunately happens all the time. Licenses expire, rights are given up. We've seen it all the time with games based on
DRM,
movies,
like
TV shows,
DRM, like people
comic
used to
books,
speedrun
what have you.
how
but
fast
usually,
they could break
and
DRM.
as is right, you can
This has
still
always
play
been
the
a thing.
game if
You
you
have
bought
never
the
owned
game. I
digital
mean, that
games.
makes sense, doesn't it? You've spent money
Even
on
when
a
you
product.
think you do,
You should
you
be
don't,
able to play that
unless
product in perpetuity. But even not so with Tron Evolution, thanks to DRM.
Not that, again, piracy is another conversation.
Like many anti-piracy measures, is not exactly popular with the game-playing public, especially because these anti-piracy measures often affect the paying customers a lot more than pirates. Pirates can work their way around always online requirements or performance issues that DRM have impacted. More crucially, pirates tend to have a better claim of ownership over the games they have, even though they didn't legally access them. Meanwhile, the paying customers have less ownership, something which has been highlighted by this situation concerning Tron Evolution. The issue here is that Disney is not using Securom anymore, but it hasn't fixed it so that a previous game like Tron Evolution that was using Securom doesn't need
this
to
has
now.
been the case.
Basically, if you own the game and don't currently have it installed,
and yet people are just realizing
it. If you install it now, it will ask you to activate it, but there's nothing to activate it with. An interesting aside is that despite being 8 years old, Tron Evolution still has people who want to play it. I say that's interesting because I've seen people push back against concerns regarding long-term game ownership, especially when they're trying to defend online streaming services like Google Stadia. Someone I know brushed aside the concern of long-term game ownership by saying, oh, well, you know, that'll be 10 years from now. That's when games might not be available to play anymore. Who wants to play these games 10 years from now? It's not a valid concern that what you buy might not be playable in the future. Here we are with Tron Evolution. Even a game like Tron Evolution has people wanting to play it years and years and years after launch. That's how this issue was discovered. People didn't go looking for this issue. There were genuine people, a number of them, who were trying to play Tron Evolution recently and couldn't because they can't activate the thing. Fact is, people spent money on this game. They have a reasonable right to be able to play the bloody thing, whether that's tomorrow or a decade from now. But this is yet another grim reminder that the all-digital future, and especially an all-streaming future if that comes to pass, makes good on the drooling dreams that publishers have had since at least 2 generations ago. The dream that they get to exert dominance over the customers in perpetuity because they are only selling you access to their goods. They are not selling you the actual goods. There are many reasons for publishers to embrace an all-digital future. One reason being that without physical goods they can drive the production costs down but keep prices the same. But eradicating the concept of customer ownership is a pretty big bonus for them. We've seen it with intrusive DRM, we've seen it with constant online checkups, we've seen it with last generation's war on used games that publishers wage.
Where, you know,
mainstream game companies have this self-entitled attitude. They feel entitled to sell you something without actually selling you something. It was difficult for game companies to exert their will when physical goods were more abundant.
We'll talk about that at the end of this.
Sales are so popular now that publishers have largely gotten what they want.
Whatever's going
Chiefly, the ability to sell you access to a product while retaining ownership of the product itself. And since they did get what they want, I think that anything listed on the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Marketplace, Steam, any game that's listed that you have to buy but don't own, that should be in the game's fucking title. It shouldn't be buried in an end-user license agreement. It should say up front, it should be a warning. You do not own this game. You are paying for access. Every game should have conditional access in parentheses right next to its name. Because if publishers want to retain ownership over what they sell, then that is exactly what they're actually selling. They are selling conditional access. Access that's dependent on external factors beyond the customer's control, like Disney still paying for Securom, servers for a game staying online. If we don't get a reasonable expectation that we can keep playing these games whenever we want, that we own these games, then publishers shouldn't be allowed to list them as if they are selling the fuckers. Now, according to responses from Disney received by users, the company is aware of this issue with Tron Evolution and might fix it one day. They've apparently said, our team is aware that the activation site for this game is no longer live and has since been shut down. At this time...
Okay, I'm gonna stop that right there. Here's the thing. Here's the fucking thing. I hate the position that I'm in. Because for years now, I have said that while Nintendo makes great video games, when it comes to making business decisions, they're morons. When it comes to making business decisions, Nintendo is Ralph Wiggum. They are the kid behind the portable eating paste. They're eating crowns and glue. Crowns? Sure. Nintendo makes... If it wasn't for the fact that Nintendo made great games, which I'm not going to have that argument, Nintendo makes great games, this would be a whole different story. Because Nintendo's always made shitty decisions. You can find a video of me a decade ago, back in like probably 2015, talking about how Nintendo makes shitty business decisions. Because I've never defended Nintendo. But yet, because of all this misinformation, because of all these blatant lies, because of all the double standards, I have to come out and defend Nintendo. And I don't want to even say I'm defending Nintendo. I still think these decisions are bad. They're anti-consumer. It's fucking stupid. But yet, other people are so much stupider that that it makes it sound like I'm defending Nintendo. That I'm agreeing with their decisions, that I'm supporting them. I don't. But that's the position it feels like I'm taking, because you guys are so fucking stupid. And I know, it's just a vocal minority. But fuck, man. Fuck. Alright, let's keep going with other bullshit. So, Nintendo updated their EULA, their End User License Agreement, to basically say that if you modify your Nintendo Switch, they can brick your console. Now, I've seen some people take this as far as Nintendo is literally going to blow up the fuses in your system so it no longer works. That basically, taking this to its worst possible conclusion, that Nintendo was literally going to basically red ring your console so that way it doesn't work anymore. That's not what's going on here. And here's the big thing about this is, Nintendo can brick the consoles if you modify it. This will not affect 99.9% of users of the Switch 2. A vast majority of people don't modify their console whatsoever. This isn't, just because you're always online and you see people with modded Switches who are playing modded Smash Bros. That is 0.01% of people. Not that many people. The Switch has sold over 152 million units. And I'd be amazed if over 100,000 of them have modded their Switch. It's not that many. This is going to affect so few people. And yet, people will blow this out of proportion like this is going to affect everybody. That, if you sneeze wrong, Nintendo's going to brick your Switch. Which, yes, some people will be caught in the crossfire. This always happens where someone, just boots up their console or their iPhone or logs into their account, and hey, guess what? You don't have access to it anymore. Some AI determined that you were actually, an illegal user, so they've locked you out, and you have to contact tech support. Listen, that does happen, and it's sadly more common than ever in the modern day of AI, but 99.9% of users will never be affected by this. This will not matter to a vast majority of people. Because I think there's a story I saw a while ago. I don't remember who said it. I saw it on TikTok. But basically, they wanted to get into their Apple TV account to watch Severance. And an Apple AI had flagged their account as fraudulent and locked them out. So they called Apple tech support to be like, hey, can you get me back into my account? And they basically discovered that this AI has total control, and not even the CEO, Tim Apple himself, could reverse that ban. They have given the AI total control, and because it randomly said, this guy has a fraudulent account, he's completely banned forever. Of course, he could just create a new, just use a different email, create a new account or whatever. But it's just, listen, it happens. But it is going to affect such a small amount of users. And this isn't, and other companies do this all the time, right? Xbox has had it in their EULA for 20 fucking years that if you modify your console, they can, brick it. PlayStation went to court over people opening up consoles and making modifications. And guess what? They lost that lawsuit, and as a result, here in the United States, we have a right to repair your console. I know people are really worried about Joy-Con drift on the Switch 2. Rightfully so. Nintendo really has done nothing to dissuade that. I mean, they've done the bare minimum. But people are acting like, oh, well, let's say my Joy-Con 2 gets drift. If I go and replace the sticks, Nintendo's just going to brick my console. That's not what that's not how that works. That's not what they're going to... if I'm wrong, so be it. But that's not what this is about. That's not what they're going to do. People are taking this to its worst possible extreme. No, this is just... I'm not going to say this is a nothing story. This isn't. But guess what? If you're modifying your Switch already, why the fuck are you playing online? Why are you using online games if you've modded your current Switch? That thing should never be connected to the internet. Ever. What the fuck are you doing? Are you a moron? And even if, let's say Nintendo, you mod your Switch, you connect it to the internet, Nintendo to, restrict your Switch, they're just going to issue like a software thing that locks you out, right? Currently, if you mod your Switch or do whatever, they just lock you out of online play. You can't access the eShop, you can't play games online, etc., and etc. That's what they currently do. They're just going to do something like that. And guess what? Modders, I'm sure, are able to go in and install a different software. They can completely undo that. I'm sure, I know people have put Linux on the Switch before, so I'm sure, they could put Linux, they could put Windows. People know how to do that. People will figure out a way around this. People are making this seem like the biggest thing in the world, and it's not. Because, yeah, Xbox can do this, PlayStation can do this. The worst one is fucking Apple. I had no idea about this, but I guess. Again, I'm not an expert, do not fully take my word, but from what I've been told, if you have an iPhone, and let's say your screen breaks, if you take it to like some third-party repair shop, and they replace your screen, I guess each iPhone screen has an ID on the screen, and if the ID screen does not match like the iPhone ID, they will brick your iPhone. That's fucking crazy. It is wild that sounds wildly illegal. And yet they're Apple, so they get away with it. That's fucking crazy. But guess what? You don't see Apple fans boycotting Apple because of that. That's one of the most anti-consumer things I can think of. That's fucking crazy. And yet, nobody cares. Guess what? They're still going to buy an overpriced phone because it says Apple on it. So, no, I think, listen, this is anti-consumer. But people are blowing this way out of proportion. This isn't nearly as bad as they're making it. And, it's fear-mongering. That's exactly what it is. Alright, let's continue on with some bullshit. So this story, I think it broke like a day or two ago. And admittedly, this is more news-related, but I know people are going to be mad at this. I guess Digital Foundry has the final specs of the Nintendo Switch 2. We now know the official specs, and, there are some things where it's like, okay, this is very clearly not up to snuff. Like, sure, it's got like 12 gigabytes of RAM. But, the processor in it or whatever, the graphics card, whatever it is more akin to like a 2040 than it is like whatever, you know, the PlayStation has, which is probably like a 40, 50 or whatever. I don't know what the fuck graphics card are classified as. But right, a lot of its specs aren't up to snuff, according to Digital Foundry. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, allegedly developers have been able to do great things using the Switch 2. Again, listening to CD Projekt Red talk about Cyberpunk on Switch. They were really impressed with what the Switch 2 was able to do. Did we just get him back to back? Yeah. Yeah, we did, didn't we? So the tech specs aren't, again, this is all based on speculation. You know, we don't know 100% how this is going to go. But Digital Foundry, you know, they weren't too impressed with the Switch. But you got to remember, this is a $450 gaming handheld. I don't expect it to be on par with the Xbox or the PlayStation. It was never going to be on par with the Xbox or the PlayStation. That was never Nintendo's goal. They just wanted to make Switch but better. And guess what? That's all I personally wanted. I just kind of wanted Switch but better. Because I don't need what... You know, I've got a PS5. I don't need Nintendo Switch 2 to just be PS5. You know, this ain't the GameCube. But yeah, so part of the things they bring up in this is, I guess, developers have concerns because in the like Switch 2 dev kit, there is a mode to test game chat. That, you know, the whole game chat thing where you know, you're talking with friends, you can see friends' gameplay. I guess game chat is going to be very resource demanding. You know, it uses up a bunch of the Switch's memory, it uses up a bunch of the RAM, the CPU, so on and so forth. Again, I'm not a tech guy, I couldn't tell you what this actually means. But, you know, the Switch 2 UI is going to, you know, require a lot. It's going to take a lot of resources, it's going to take a lot of processing power to use game chat. And now, luckily, Nintendo has built into it so that way you can test it to see how it works. But there's probably going to be some sort of drawback. So, like, let's say, you know, you're playing Mario Kart with 4 friends, and everybody's sharing their gameplay. There's obviously going to be some sort of dip. Like, we've already seen, just on the footage they've showed, that other people's gameplay looks a lot worse. Like, it does look very laggy. And I get that, right? I definitely know there's going to be some sort of cost, some sort of drawback. But I guess it uses up a lot, which, you know, maybe that's going to be a really bad thing. Maybe that'll basically completely ruin game chat. Or, you know, maybe it's not actually going to be that bad. We will not know until the thing comes out. I'm not saying Digital Foundry is like fear-mongering or anything like that. I think this is more of like an honest concern, and it's just other people who are blowing this out of proportion. But yeah, I get the concerns for game chat, especially because I want to say they said you can have game chats of up to 12 people at a time. Now, I would hope that just like, hey, if I join a voice call with 3 other people, and, you know, I don't even have any of the screen overlays or anything, it's just, hey, me and them all on a call together, that's not going to be as intensive as, you know, sharing video, expanding screens, and all that. Like, obviously, that's going to cost more, and that's going to take a bigger hit. I get that. I get there's going to be some drawbacks when you're doing a bunch of different things. But hopefully, just, like, doing a voice call shouldn't be that bad. But I guess, you know, Nintendo was concerned about it enough that they put that tool in the dev kit. So we'll just have to see about that one, but I get the concern. Now, I don't remember, this might have been posted on Nintendo Today. I don't remember exactly where this was posted. Maybe it was a developer interview. At some point, Nintendo said this week that basically what led them to create Game Chat was that they looked at the modern world and realized, like, hey, you know, people don't really go over to, like, their friends' houses anymore. Like, the entire point of the GameCube was that it had a handle, so that way you could easily pick it up and take it over to your friend's house, and you guys could all play Melee together. And people just don't really do that anymore. You know, I know we can talk about how, oh, people don't like teenagers being outside. You know, people don't like teenagers hanging out at the mall or going to the library. The death of the third space. That teenagers feel the death of the third space. And basically Nintendo said that when designing Game Chat, they wanted to recreate that feeling of the third space. That sure, you're in your home still, but you're in a third space. So I get that. I understand what they were trying to do. It's actually really depressing when you think about it like that. The idea that Nintendo is like, you know, recognizing that people don't hang out anymore in person, so they're trying to recreate that digitally. Like, I get it. Also, there's the whole fact that, you know, I hope this doesn't lag that bad, because this is something Xbox figured out like 20 years ago. I mean, the Xbox 360 is like 19, 20 years old at this point. Xbox had this shit figured out almost seamlessly back then. It's gonna be a real fucking shame if Nintendo can't figure this out now. Like, I get it, you know, they're not, you know, this is hardware, and that's just a fuck, like, this ain't like Discord where it's like a dedicated thing. But still, that's a fucking mess. Alright, the next thing, which people have been complaining about for some fucking reason. The last part of this, on the Nintendo Today app, they released a thing talking about battery saving mode. That, in, like, any modern day electronic device, you don't want to charge the battery up to 100% continually. That over time, that, like, weakens the battery, and it makes the battery, like, it makes it lose charge faster. So Nintendo, for the Switch 2, had the idea of, like, hey, what if we add a slow charging mode? That basically, at 85% of the battery, the system will start slow charging, and then it'll basically stop charging at 90%. So that way, while yes, your console is never 100% fully charged, because it stays at that 90% battery level, it doesn't strain the battery as much. That I guess this is healthier for devices if they never reach 100%. And, you know, just overall, it's to make the device's health better. I think this is a good idea. Admittedly, again, I'm not really a tech guy. I'm not entirely sure, like, why, you know, you shouldn't charge your batteries to 100%. I don't know all the technical aspects about it. I'm sure it's true. Like, I do believe it. But for some reason, people are mad at this. I have seen people complain about this. The big thing is, I guess they showed off a video where you see the Switch enter slow charging mode at 85%. And then it takes like 30 minutes to get to 87%. Because it's in slow charging mode, right? And I've seen people look at that video and be like, oh wow, I guess the Switch 2 doesn't really charge that fast. That in like 30 minutes it only charged 2%. Shame on you, Nintendo. Again, it's just lies. It's just misinformation. Like, this is something that's actually, you know, good for the console. And yet, because everyone is on the Nintendo hate train, because they keep making stops at Misinformation Station, it's just... I know it's a vocal minority. But man, they're fucking annoying. So I guess that's my last piece of misinformation, you know, that's the last piece of the topic. But I do want to close this out with this. I've come to realize that the lead up to a Nintendo console is very exciting. It is very fun to speculate about what's going to be happening with a new Nintendo console. What's the console going to look like? What games are we going to see? What new features, gimmicks are they going to have? Speculating on a new Nintendo console is a lot of fun. Actually, then you cut to a few months later. Actually getting to play a new Nintendo console is a lot of fun. Nintendo may make very shitty business decisions. They may be the kid who eats paste behind the playground. But they still know how to make a good game. actually playing a new Nintendo console is a lot of fun. The problem is that in-between time, at that point where, hey, the console has been revealed, we know some of the games that are coming out in the launch window, and now people just have nothing better to do than shit on the console. That they pick it apart for every little problem, every little mistake. That's the worst part of a Nintendo console reveal. This isn't something new, by the way. I was there at the Switch reveal. People really did not like the Switch at reveal. People were... I know in hindsight that sounds crazy, you know? The console that sold 152 million units. People were not that excited for it at launch. Sure, was everybody pre-ordering it? Yeah. But people weren't actually that excited for it. They were picking apart all the little things. People thought it was dumb. I remember the guys over at Tugs. You know, nowadays, Internet Today. I remember them destroying a Switch because of how dumb it was. Because dumb Tendo or whatever. Right? It's that period between reveal and launch that just fucking sucks. And, like, listen, I get it. Nintendo makes dumb decisions. Some of it's deserved. But some of it's just the pettiest, most annoying bullshit. And I don't want to defend Nintendo. They don't fucking deserve it. They're a bunch of fucking... Nintendo is so behind in their ways. Nintendo is ass backwards. And while sure, that can lead to some good decisions. I will always praise Satoru Iwata and Shigeru Miyamoto for taking pay cuts during the Wii U era to make sure they don't fire employees. That, I will always praise them for that. Satoru Iwata is one of the best CEOs of all time because of stuff like that. And that comes from Nintendo's backwards managing decision. That they don't function the way many other capitalist corporations do. Like, you look at all the shit David Zaslav's doing over at HBO Max, at Time Warner Brothers Discovery, Disney Netflix Plus. And it's like, oh my god, these people are literally the lowest of the low. They're barely human. And yeah, no, Satoru Iwata was a great man in comparison. Just in general. But yeah, Nintendo, for every, like, good thing they do because of their ass-backwards decision-making, there's, like, a dozen other things that are just dumb and terrible. And, like, again, I think some of these complaints are totally valid. But if you're spreading lies and misinformation, you're just completely undoing all the work of actual, like, criticism. But here's the thing. Here's the one thing we gotta look forward to. Is that in just, like, 2 weeks, nobody will ever talk about this again. You gotta remember, the gamer's brain is so hyper-fixated on the next thing that the immediate next thing, they're gonna forget about all this game key stuff, all these breaking your console stuff. In a month's time, nobody's gonna give a shit about this anymore. People are big mad now, but in a month's time, none of this shit's gonna matter. In a month's time, Summer Game Fest is gonna happen, and Jeff Keighley or Phil Spencer or somebody at PlayStation or Ubisoft is gonna say something stupid, is gonna piss people off, and everyone will move over to complaining about that. People will have the Switch in their hands. You know, the console will have sold 6 million units in 24 hours. People will be having a great time playing Mario Kart, and everybody's just going to forget about all of this. Because that's how it works. Again, we just watched the thing on Tron. Has anybody mentioned Tron in the almost 6 years since that video was made? Has anybody actually given a shit about that? I mean, there are some. There will always be some who remember. Again, Steph Sterling's a great example. They never forget. Right? They're the Cassandra of video games for that exact reason. But for 99% of the audience, people are just going to forget and they're going to move on. Yeah, in 2 weeks, nobody's going to care about any of this. And the fact that the console's going to sell like 6 million units in 24 hours is all the proof of that. Because boycotting never works. There's that famous post of, all these people saying, boycott Call of Duty. Call of Duty releases and all of them are playing it. A video game boycott has never worked. I've seen people say, boycott the Switch 2. Guess what? Nobody's going to boycott the Switch 2. That's just... listen, I've been around the block enough times to know. That's exactly how this works. Okay, we talked about that for like an hour plus. Let's get into the news. So for gaming news, we got 4 stories. 2 of them are Nintendo related, because they didn't really fall into all the other stuff. I'll be honest. Oh, we're just an hour there. Okay. Two of them didn't really fall into the other. Like, I haven't seen people hate on these as much. Admittedly, some of this news is like came out just today, and it hasn't been long enough for people to complain about it. And then one of these stories is just actually genuinely good. Like, our first story, which is about Giant Bomb, is just genuinely good news. And then the others, one of them I think is, the first Nintendo story is interesting, talking about the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And then the other 2 stories are, I mean, one of them sucks, but it's inevitable, the PlayStation 1. And we just got some Switch 2 stuff to talk about. So I guess after an hour of complaining, let's start with the good one. So, a few weeks ago, not last week, but probably 2 weeks ago, we talked about how Giant Bomb was going through a restructuring, things were changing, that Jeff Grubb, someone I have followed for a long time now, had been laid off from Giant Bomb. And that Fandom, their parent company, was going in and they were going to be doing a restructure of Giant Bomb. Well, earlier this week at PAX East, we got an update. And in fantastic news, actually, we have learned that Jeff Grubb and Jeff Ballard bought Giant Bomb from Fandom. That in just a short few weeks, they were able to make a deal with Fandom to get the property rights of Giant Bomb. Now, we've seen stories like this in the past, these internet... Because that's the danger about being an internet company, is that in the modern world, if you sell yourself off, there's a good chance you're being closed, you're being shut down, someone's gonna fuck you over. Smosh, Rooster Teeth, The Try Guys, College Humor. It's hard to be an, let's just say internet media company. I don't love that term, but I think that's just kind of gets this collective. It is hard to be an independent internet media company, and in the modern age, people have learned enough lessons. You do not want to be bought out. Like, I feel like we all learned this around the time of Machinima, that around the time Warner Brothers, Time Warner, whenever the Warner Brothers AT&T merger happened, because that was when it happened, because it was in that merger that Machinima was shut down. People started to realize, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be selling our internet company to these giant multimedia conglomerates, because they're just going to shut us down eventually. Maker Studio, there's another one. Right? They all just kind of get fucked over eventually. But I was really surprised when earlier this year, Bernie Burns bought back Rooster Teeth. He was able to make a deal to get Rooster Teeth back from Warner Brothers. Because, like, what the fuck else are they going to do with it? What, are they going to relaunch the brand with new people? No, nobody's going to watch that. What, are they going to continue doing Ruby? No, of course not. And that's why they sold Ruby as well. Plus, they sold a bunch of other stuff. I genuinely considered getting Cephalobot here. I didn't, because I don't think we've had Cephalobot on our island, but I did genuinely consider it. But I ended up not doing it. But so, in just such a short period of time, again, 2-3 weeks ago, we were talking about all these things with Giant Bomb and Polygon. And now here we are. And yet, Jeff Blar and Jeff Grubb now own Giant Bomb again. And listening to Jeff Grubb talk about this on the Kinda Funny Games cast, they were kind of bringing up, like, hey, you know, I can't remember if Jeff Grubb or Greg Miller brought this up, but, like, Fandom had options for what to do with Giant Bomb. You know, they could have restructured it, you know, tried to relaunch the company, or they could have sold it back to the people that made it popular in the first place. And that's exactly what they did. And can I be honest, I've heard all these about how Fandom is such an evil corporation. And yeah, they seemingly are. But I kind of gotta give them credit here. The fact that they realized as this, you know, big multimedia conglomerate that, hey, you know, we're not actually going to get much use of Giant Bomb, so let's just sell it back to the people who actually will. Like, respect is a strong word, but it's the only one I can think of. Like, I gotta give them some credit for that. Like, it's actually a good thing that they did this. It's really cool that it happened in such a short period of time. Again, the Warner Brothers deal for Rooster Teeth took, like, 9-10 months for that to happen? So that took a while. Hey, here's our first villager we've already had. We had Big Top on our island at one point. But yeah, no, I actually kind of got to give Fandom some credit for that. Of course, we don't know all the details. We'll never know all the details. And that's fine. Like, I don't need to know how much they paid for Giant Bomb. I don't need to know that. I'm just glad they have it. They're independent. You know, I'm sure they either have a Patreon or they're going to do a Patreon, or maybe they'll do a, you know, dropout or a try hard. Or, you know, or second try was the name of the Try Guys thing. Try Hard's a whole different thing. Maybe they'll do something like that, you know, make their own proprietary service. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm really happy for them. It's really good to get a positive story like this. And they're already starting up content again this weekend. I think they're doing a stream tomorrow to, like, get back into the swing of things. You know, it's good to have Giant Bomb back. Not that I watch them regularly, usually only at, like, Nintendo Directs or upcoming Summer Games Fest, but it's going to be cool to see them at Summer Games Fest, you know, hearing about that. So yeah, it's good to have a happy story. It feels like, you know, everything always fucking sucks. We just spend an hour talking about hate and misinformation. It's good to have a good story. Our next story is the exact opposite. So, a few weeks ago, Xbox raised the price of all their consoles. At the time, and they still haven't really, the entire reason Xbox raised their prices is because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has put his 145% tariff on China, and while that changes every day and might be delayed at the moment, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with it. But, you know, Donald Trump's putting in all these tariffs. The economy is in such an influx right now. Nothing is certain. Like, I guess the stock market's basically back to where it was when Trump entered office 100 days ago. That's not fucking good. The fact that he destroyed all that economic value, all that money, and now he's just back to where he started. People are like, you know, Fox and friends are praising him for it. When no, he almost dropped us into a recession, and we might still be heading there. But right, Xbox is increasing their prices because of that. Again, another piece of misinformation. I saw people blame Nintendo for Xbox increasing their prices. That because because Nintendo's charging $80 for games and $450 for their console, that, oh, Xbox is taking this as an opportunity to increase their prices. Man, you gotta be so chronically online to get a take like that. You have to be so chronically online, but also pay zero attention to anything happening. Like, imagine that person. Imagine the reality of that person who like only thinks about video games, sees Nintendo have their increased prices, and just thinks like, oh yeah, Xbox is doing it just to copy Nintendo. Man, you know, sometimes you're jealous of just how stupid people are. Like, I'm not gonna act like I'm a genius. I'm not. But I'm self-aware enough to know that everything fucking sucks. But imagine being the type of person who's just so carefree, so ignorant, not a care in the world, that you don't even realize. Hey, look, there's another villager we had. Again, I'm not bringing her... I know we have her brother on the island, but I'm not bringing her back. Man, just imagine that. Being that fucking stupid. But, okay, where were we? Oh, yeah, so PlayStation... So Nintendo... so Xbox increased their price. And at the time, I was like, oh, it's only a matter of time until Sony does the same thing for PlayStation. Mark my words, it's going to happen. And while nothing has officially happened yet, there are rumors swirling around that, yes, as a direct result of Trump's tariffs, PlayStation is considering multiple options on what to do. One of the options they're floating around is manufacturing consoles in the US, which, spoiler alert, that's not going to happen. I'm just going to tell you right now, there are certain Republicans out there who think that, oh, well, you know, we're going to put tariffs on China, and that'll make businesses manufacture all their stuff in the US, as if we can just turn around and in like 6 months build factories that can manufacture iPhones. That's not how it works. All these China factories have been built up over years and decades. Like Joe Biden put in the CHIPS Act just to start that ball rolling. And that's like a 10-plus year plan. And guess what? Donald Trump is going to throw that out, or he might have already thrown that out, because it's something Biden did. Yeah, no, that's not... Listen, I don't care what Fox and friends say. Manufacturing can't just snap and come back to the U.S. It takes years and decades to build that stuff up. And then who the fuck are going to work those jobs? White people aren't going to work those jobs. Oh, you're going to get child labor? Like what fucking Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida? Look at how well that worked out for him. Oh, you're going to get the immigrants to do it? Oh, guess what? You deported them all. And you're making this country so terrible that none of them want to be here. Like, there was an old skit about, like, I think his name was, like, Dwight D. America. And the whole joke was that he was a big, like, anti-immigrant guy, but he owned an orange farm. So when they deported all the immigrants, nobody could work on his orange farm, and he went bankrupt. And yet he was still blaming immigrants for all his problems. It was a whole thing. God, that joke must be like 20 years old at this point. But that's the idea. Okay, not 20, probably closer to like 15. But still. This is all... So, U.S. manufacturing is not happening. They may say it's a possibility. It's not happening. Instead, what's probably going to happen is that they're going to pass off the price of the tariffs to the consumer to maintain the bottom line. That much like the Xbox, the PS5, the PS5 Pro, all the accessories are gonna go up in price to, you know, maintain that bottom line. If I had to guess, the PS5 is gonna go up by at least $100. Just the box. So it's currently $600. It's gonna go up to $700. The PS5 Pro, on the other hand, which is what, $700 something, is potentially going to go up to like $800 or $900. It is not impossible that the PS5 Pro is $1,000. It's very unlikely, but it is entirely possible that the PS5 Pro becomes a $100 console. I would in no way rule that out. It's unlikely, but it is possible, especially if Trump keeps trying to double down and, you know, the next tariffs are going to be $200. it's Donald Trump. You know, you never know what he's gonna do. Because he doesn't know what he's gonna do. Because he's sundowning constantly. What a fucking mess. But yeah, no, I think I'm gonna guess within the next week, we're probably gonna know. Like, Xbox kind of got out ahead of it. Technically, Nintendo was like, you know, Nintendo had to stop their pre-orders because of it. Because, you know, the tariffs were announced on the same day as the Switch 2 reveal. It's only a matter of time until Nintendo does something. Or until PlayStation does something. I would guess within the next week. That's my prediction. It'll be sooner rather than later. But it's going to happen. But no, it does not surprise me at all. This was inevitable. Our next story, which I find interesting, but I do like. So, NBC Universal put out their 2025 upfront content slate. Basically, it's like an article telling people, hey, here's what to expect from NBC Universal in the coming year. And on that post, interestingly enough, they mentioned the Super Mario Brothers movie, because I think, April of next year, April, May, sometime in that March to May window, they're releasing the Super Mario Brothers movie too. But in that article, it mentions that the Super Mario Brothers movie is now titled Super Mario World. Presumably, I want it to be called Super Mario World the movie, or the Super Mario World movie, or I feel like just calling it Super Mario World, I mean, it's technically not that confusing, but it might be just confusing enough. But yeah, instead of calling it Super Mario Bros. 2, or the Super Mario Bros. Movie 2, they're gonna call it Super Mario World. And can I be honest? I think that's a great idea. I like that. Instead of just calling it Super Mario Bros. 2, calling it Super Mario World, that's great. Especially because we know Yoshi's going to be in it. A lot of people want the Koopalings to be in it. I want to see Daisy. I would love to see... I want Luigi to have a bigger role. And I want Daisy to be there to play off Luigi. I think that'd be fun. You know, just make him the fucking, you know, the straight golden retriever guy with the bisexual girlfriend who just really loves his girlfriend. That's what I want from Charlie Day's Luigi. I think that'd be very cute, very funny. You know, and then give us a Luigi's Mansion movie with the two of them. That sounds great. That sounds great to me. But no, I genuinely think the idea of Super Mario World being the second movie is a great idea. Especially because if Super Mario World is the second one, my dream has always been Galaxy. Imagine if the third Mario Bros. Movie is Super Mario Galaxy. Because, I mean, you could do Super Mario 64, you could do Sunshine. Super Mario Galaxy. That's a fucking title. That's a name, man. And then, of course, Odyssey and whatnot. If they, you know, as long as these things keep doing well. Which, I mean, they just opened a theme park, or the theme park opens next week. I'm not entirely sure. But no, I think the name change is great. I genuinely peak name change. I hope this is true. I hope that, because by now they've already updated the article, and that mention of it being called Super Mario World has been removed. Like, they've already gotten rid of that. And we probably won't find out until, like, we get a trailer. Which, I mean, that'll happen in, like, 6 months, probably. I don't know. Man, we just got a trailer for Ironheart. And, like, that show comes out in, like, a month. And yet we're only getting a trailer now? Like, what the fuck? Like, Disney's sending that show out to die. Which kind of sucks. Like, I don't want that. I don't love I have read Ironheart's comic run. I think I read... Was it like an initial 12-issue run or something? I have read some Ironheart. I've read most of the Champions at some point or another. But... And, like, the character's flawed, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I think an adaptation would do her well. The MCU takes okay stories and makes them good stories. Or on the rare occasion, they take okay-ish bad stories and make them worse. Except for that one time where they took a bad story and made it really good. I'm talking about Secret Invasion and Civil War. Secret Invasion was an okay-ish bad comic that they made fucking terrible. And Civil War was a bad comic that they made fantastic. So, I mean, we'll have to see. So I guess our last news story. So we got some updates on Switch 2 games. Our Switch 1 games. So we already knew from Nintendo that select Switch 1 titles would be getting free updates. That while yes, there are games like Echoes of Wisdom, or Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Party Jamboree, Kirby and Star Forgotten Lands. Like, we already knew those games were getting, like, paid updates, where, you know, you get, like, the enhanced port, you know, you buy the upgrade pass. Nintendo had previously announced that there were other games that were getting updates for free. That, you know, would take advantage of the Switch 2's hardware to just make pre-existing games run better. So we now have that list. And the games that are getting free updates. I'll go over all the games, and I'll go over specifically which ones are affected by what. The games that are affected are ARMS, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Mario Odyssey, Game Builder Garage, Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Big Brain Academy, and Clubhouse Games 51. So those are all 12 games that are getting updates. And they're giving changes to resolution, FPS, some games are getting HDR support, some games are getting game share support, and a few other things. So I actually have a list that comes from Game Explains, of all places. Game Explains put together a pretty good list. So, the games that are getting resolution updates are ARMS, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Mario Maker, Game Builder Garage, Echoes of Wisdom, Mario U Deluxe, Link's Awakening, and Scarlet and Violet. The games that are getting FPS updates are ARMS, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and then Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I'm surprised Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom is not in the FPS list, but I guess Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening already have unlocked frame rate, so just playing them on the Switch 2, just because the Switch 2 is better hardware, they'd automatically play better. So, like, they don't need that update to make that change. Presumably, they should just already work better. So that's less of an issue there. So that's good. Because that's even though I personally don't really, it doesn't bother me. Some people really hate the frame rates in Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening. I personally never really had that much of an issue with it. But some people claim that game is unplayable for them, so, okay. Games that are getting HDR support, ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, specifically Bowser's Fury, not the 3D World part, just Bowser's Fury, Super Mario Odyssey, Echoes of Wisdom, and Link's Awakening. Okay, all good games, all getting those updates. And finally, for the miscellaneous stuff, Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain, is getting 4-player support in party mode, plus the ability to use game share and game chat. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker it can allow 2 people to play all courses in the game, which I guess wasn't already a thing. And then you can do share locally and share online via game chat. So game share is now a thing. It's also getting game share support, so up to 4 people can play in party mode, and they can share it right locally via game chat and whatnot. There's a lot of asterisks, like I want to say it's only like 32 games or something like that. Yeah. Game Builder Garage is getting mouse support for the Joy-Con 2. 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is 2 people can play all the courses and share locally online via game chat. And finally, Odyssey, 2 people can play together with 1 player controlling Mario and the other playing Cappy via online game share game support. So that's all good. I think, you know, if you're putting in some free updates, those are all good. We did also get some screenshots via Cerebi, or, you know, via wherever. I know they're on Cerebi. I actually do want to pull them up real quick. Just, you know, just because I can fucking pause this and actually do this. Let me find them real quick. I know... Ooh. So, if we look here... So, these are the pre-release screenshots. There's this one, and then there's this one. So, what does this actually mean? Well, someone did a comparison. I want to say maybe it was over on Twitter. But basically, the difference between the old and the new is how many Pokemon are spawning. That in the old version, there was only like 3 or 4 Pokemon on screen, where on the new version, you know, you've got all these guys. Maybe the render distance is a little better. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. But from what it looks like, the big thing is just more Pokemon spawning at once. Can I be honest? I don't really care about that. I don't care how... Like, I want to say the game already kind of caps things off at around, like, 15. Which I think is fine. I know some people want more. I don't really care. What I care is that it's consistent. That, you know, you can go here to Castleroy Lake, and the game will run at a consistent... I prefer 60, but it's probably going to be 30 frames. You know, you don't see those giant lag spikes or whatever, that you can have all these Pokemon on screen and not have an issue. That's what I give a shit about. I don't care that you're spawning more. I care that it's consistent. So we'll actually see if that's what that turns out to be. But hey, there's our newest picture. So that's good, I guess. But yeah, so there's some of the new updates and, you know, changes and whatnot. Again, the game share ones to be expected. There are some games I'm surprised aren't here. Because I suspect that some games that aren't here are going to be getting updates in the future. They're going to be getting the expansion pass. Specifically Mario Wonder. Because Mario Wonder, kind of like 3D World, seems like an obvious one. Like, oh, you game share it with people so that way multiple people can play Mario Wonder at the same time. But I can kind of, you know how like Kirby basically is seemingly adding in a new campaign? I could see them doing the same thing. That they're basically just going to add a brand new campaign to Mario Wonder. Or maybe like an extra difficulty mode. Same thing with Pikmin. I would love to see a Pikmin update. That my dream Pikmin expansion pass is a Pikmin 2 mode. Because right now, default Pikmin 4 has a remake of Pikmin 1. I think if you're going to add an expansion pass to Pikmin 4, it should be a remake of Pikmin 2. Bring back some of the Pikmin 2 enemies, you know, the Greening Dirigibug, the Gatling Groink, and make the theme of it difficult. It's all about difficult, or making the game as difficult as possible. I think that'd be really cool. Either that, or put in a roguelite mode where, you know, you're just going... Where you've got, like, the pit of 100 trials, and your goal is to get down to floor 100 of a dungeon, and it's randomly generated, and, you know, it gets more difficult and more treasures, and you only can bring in 100 Pikmin, and any that you lose along the way are gone forever. Maybe bring back Bulbmin, even though Ghost Pikmin kind of already do that. I don't know how they do it, but I think that'd be cool as well. Alright, so that's all I got for that. There's our news stories. Let's get to WIBE, shall we? So, we got 4 food things. We got, I went back to Sonic to get another unicorn slush. Because last time I had it, Right, I mentioned, like, it definitely was blue raspberry, but I didn't taste any cotton candy, so I was like, oh, well, fuck it, I'll try it again. Because I still do really like Sonic drinks. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Sonic may not have great food. They've got some great drinks. I went to Wendy's, because Wendy's has their new, are they called, like, loaded Frosties? Fully loaded Frosties? Basically, you know, last week they were doing, like, last month they did the flavored Frosties. And now they're building on top of that, and they're putting, like, stuff into them. And so I tried one of those. Like 2 weeks ago, I went to Freddy's to try their new barbecue brisket steak burger, and I meant to talk about it, and then I just kind of forgot. Like, I think I did it on, like, Saturday, and then by the time the next week's show came around, like last week's show, I just forgotten I did it. So I put that on the list just because I remembered it for some reason. And finally, you know, we got this Little Caesars Mango Rush that I tried and I drank, and yeah. And finally, you know, we'll talk about Splatoon. If we have time, we'll talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl, the book I've been reading. But we'll probably have time. We'll talk about it a little bit. I haven't finished it, but I've been reading it, so we'll have time to talk about it. Hey, look, it's Tammy was one of our first villagers. Tammy and... Not Big Top. It was an elephant. He was a muscle guy. Fucking... Why can I not remember his name? It was Tammy, and it was... Axel. Axel was our other first villager. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Alright. So, first thing, Sonic Unicorn Slush. So, last time I had it, you know, I liked it well enough. I'm not gonna act like it was perfect or anything, but it was good. I like a good blue raspberry. I know blue's raspberry isn't real, it's an artificial flavor, but man, I fucking like blue raspberry. What can I say? I really do. So I was excited to, you know, get blue raspberry. I was like, yeah, you know, it was fine. But, like, the drink was supposed to be, like, pink. It's, like, a pink drink with, like, the blue raspberry bubbles. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, I gotta try it again. Even though it was good. And it was good enough that I was willing to try it again. So that's exactly what I did. I went back to Sonic. I got another one. When I went last time, you know, they were supposed to have, like, the unicorn straws. They did not give me a unicorn straw last time. This time they did. So I do now have this unicorn straw. I don't know if you can hear that on my TV. That's some fucking ASMR bullshit. Yeah, I do have it here. It's a very weird straw because it's got a big opening at the bottom and a small opening at the top. Assuming I'm holding it the right way. You know, which I think it'd be weird to drink out of the base. But it's a weird opening. But when you're sucking, like, if it was a big straw, like, they've got, like, the bursting bubbles inside, like the blue raspberry bursting bubbles. So having, you know, a bigger straw is better for those bursting bubbles. But because by the top of it, it basically is just like the width of a normal straw, I actually don't think it's that good for the bursting bubbles. Because I have, on rare occasions, gotten, like, a big straw from Sonic. Where, you know, sometimes they just give you, like, normal drink straws. But they also have, like, ice cream straws that are, like, bigger, so that way you can get, like, more of it. I don't know how to... I'm explaining this weird. But, like, if that's what this was supposed to be, I think this kind of failed at that. Because by the end, it gets so thin that when you're pulling the burst, like when you're sucking up one of the bursting bubbles, it pops in the straw. Which I know for some people that's fine. And like, but yeah, I just think that's weird. Like, it's not well designed. The one I have it's like blue and sparkly. I know there's one that like is like white and it changes colors. Again, they're just fucking plastic straws. Guess what? Your body's filled with microplastics, and it's going to have horrible effects on you in the future. The same way lead paint had for the baby boomers, the same way asbestos did for Gen X. And we're just kind of gonna have to deal with that when that happens. Everything's fucked, man. But yes, this time the drink was pink. It was a pink drink with the bursting bubbles. And can I be honest? I didn't taste the difference. I mean, again, it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago the last time I had it. Having it again this time, I didn't taste a damn difference. I just realized I misspelled. So yeah, it was no different to me. It really didn't matter. I still liked it. Like, it's still, I kind of wish it was an ice cream slush. They put like a little dollop of whipped cream on top, and it just gets blended in, and you know, it's whatever. The ice cream slushes are really good though. If you've ever had an ice cream slush from Sonic. So I kind of wish it was just an ice cream slush, but for what it is, I think it's fine. Would I get one again? Sure. I personally didn't think the cotton candy flavor was that strong, or it just gets overshadowed by the blue raspberry. But I like blue raspberry, so I'm not really complaining. But I guess, yeah, would buy again. Next up, Wendy's. Wendy's is doing their loaded I'm gonna have to look up what it's called. I think it's loaded Frosty. Loaded Frosty sounds correct. I'm gonna pull it up. Let me open up their mobile app real quick. I should open up TikTok and see how many people I can scroll before I find someone complaining about the Switch 2. I bet it wouldn't be that many. I bet I could find it in like 10. Alright, let's see. No, just browse the menu because it's not closed. It is a Frosty Fusion. That's what they're called. So the Frosty Swirls they did the Frosty Swirls last month, which were brownie, strawberry, and caramel. And this month they have the Frosty Fusions, which there's an Oreo brownie, a Pop-Tart strawberry, and a caramel crunch, which is caramel and toffee. I like the Frosty Swirls. I had the brownie one. I had the caramel one. I both thought they were pretty decent. So both of those I thought were fine. So going into this, I was like, oh, you know, personally, I know chocolate Frosties are like the go-to. When it comes to like adding flavors to something, I think vanilla is a stronger base. I personally believe there is such a thing as too much chocolate. Double, triple, quadruple chocolate. There's such a thing as too much chocolate. So when I got this Frosty Fusion, I got the Oreo brownie, but I specifically got the vanilla one. So it was vanilla with the brownie sauce and the Oreos. And overall, it was fine. I mean, I do like Wendy's Frosties. Wendy's Frosties are good. And yeah, this was fine. I wasn't, like, the Oreo wasn't too strong. The brownie tastes like how I remember it from the last time. I do, at least with mine, I definitely feel like they put a little less of the brownie sauce in it because, you know, they're adding Oreos. But overall, yeah, I liked it. I do like that they're evolving Frosties without having to, like, add new flavors. I think it's a good idea. And yeah, I will definitely try out the caramel toffee one. I'm not a big caramel... I like caramel. I'm not a big toffee guy. But I like caramel well enough. So, I'll try it. The strawberry one, nah. I mean, I'm allergic, but, like, it's not gonna kill me. But still, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, could you imagine getting a chocolate strawberry Pop-Tart Frosty? Ooh, that sounds like too much. That's too many. I know there's no such thing as too many flavors. That's too many flavors. And yeah, there totally is such a thing as too many flavors. Again, I think back to last year when I had the bacon jam mac and cheese cheeseburger. And while individually all the components were good, together it was just too fucking much. It was a good burger, but man, it was too much. The bacon jam was really good. Alright, speaking of burgers, like 2 weeks ago, I went to Freddy's. Freddy's, they had two new things. They had a barbecue brisket burger, and they had a key lime concrete shake, whatever they call their frozen custard. I didn't try the key lime thing. I'll be honest, I'm not a big key lime pie guy. Like, I've had them in the past, but like, I don't really go out of my way to get a key lime pie. And at Freddy's, I was like, nah, I'm good. I didn't need it. I didn't need it. But I was gonna try the brisket burger, cause I was curious enough, and I like weird shit like that. And yeah, the brisket burger, it was fine. Like this villager, the dragon's cool, but I'm good. The brisket was fine. It definitely added more texture to the burger. I think the brisket, it wasn't like a burnt end or anything like that. It's definitely, is it better than something you get at like Arby's? When was the last time I had Arby's? Probably COVID times, when, that was when you ran out of everything possible, and it was like, fuck it, I've reached a low enough point, let's try Arby's. So, yeah, I tried it, it was fine. Would I get it again? Probably not, but I think I like Freddy's. They don't blow me away, but they're good. Freddy's is good enough. The place I really... We don't have one here. I want a Culver's. I've had it once, and it was good. But I want a Culver's here. That's kind of like... It's the one where, like... That's like the... Freddy's is like the closest comparison I can make. Because, they do the burgers, they do the shakes, the concretes, or whatever. And I know people like Culver's, and they're in other places in the state. They're just not here for some reason. I'd like a Culver's, but there are other things we gotta do first. Yeah, no, it was fine. It was fine. I'll be honest, this was 2 weeks ago, so I don't really have any strong feelings. I finished the whole burger. That's like the most that you could ask for, It wasn't so disgusting I had to throw it away. Alright, next up, let's talk about this Mountain Dew thing. So, all these places have their exclusive Mountain Dew flavors, and Little Caesars wanted to get into the mix with Mango Rush, which is as I read on the can earlier, a mango sweet heat flavor. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we tried sweet and spicy lemonade, and it was not great. I still have like half a bottle, and I've been adding like cherry syrup to it to try to finish it off. It ain't working. Like, I'm definitely going to finish it off, but it's an uphill battle. This, out of the two spicy sweet drinks I've had in the past week, this is definitely the better one. The spice isn't so strong that I can't... Like, I definitely tasted a little bit. In the spicy sweet lemonade, I mostly tasted it in the aftertaste, like in the back of your throat. The normal taste, it was like, oh yeah, it's lemonade. And then you hit that aftertaste and it's like, oh god, who made this spicy? Who thought that was a good idea? This is better than that. I've had spicy Mountain Dew before. They did a hot Cheetos one, and it was fucking awful. Hot Cheetos Mountain Dew was terrible. This is better than that. I definitely do taste the mango. I think the mango's doing most of the heavy lifting, and I'm fine with that. Would I go out of my way to get this? No. I mean, if you're a big enough Mountain Dew guy, just try it. You know, there are worse things. But, like, this will never replace Baja Blast. Even that KFC one, that, like, I don't love, it's like a peach one. I don't love it, but I'll at least, like, basically anytime I go to KFC, I'll at least try it, because it's good enough. This, if I were to go back to Little Caesars, I just get a mug root beer. Or I just wouldn't get a drink, because I don't really get drinks from pizza places. Man, it sucks. Yeah, side tangent here. I guess I'd say my favorite pizza place. It was a local place. Like a week or two ago, I went to order from them, and they closed down. I don't know why. I checked like their Twitter, because they have like a Twitter and a Facebook page. Nothing on the Twitter, nothing on the Facebook page. There's still another location on the other side of town, but the one that was like just like up the street, it closed, and that sucked. That sucked. But they were good. They were good. And while I know I could still hear them, I could go across town and get them, I'm not gonna do it. I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. But man, I'm gonna miss them. But yeah, other than that, at Little Caesars, I did get the pretzel crust pizza. And guess what? I still love the pretzel crust pizza. Since they've brought it back, I've gotten it like 3 times. I have such fond memories of it. I know it's just like a cheese sauce, and I know they just like put salt and like put water and baking soda on the dough to give it like a pretzel style feel, and they just use a cheese sauce. Like, I know it's technically not anything like super special, but man, do I really enjoy it. What can I say? It's got a special place for me. And yeah, it's what I had earlier today. That was what I had for dinner tonight. So that's that. Okay, so that's all I've been doing. That's all the food stuffs for the past like week or two. I have not been outside of Animal Crossing. I really haven't been playing any videos game. But I did boot up. So my mother's been playing Splatoon 3 side order. I think last time we talked, she had made it to the parallel canon, but she didn't beat the parallel canon. She was really struggling. This time, her run today, because I went over today. Her run today, she was at the parallel, like before I got there, she had gotten to the parallel canon. I kept, because, you know, side order has all these different weapons. And since she started playing Splatoon 3, I've been telling her, use the Splatana. Because she very much plays close range. Like, her favorite weapon is the Dapper Dualies. Alright, real quick, I'm going to take a pause. It's Kiki. You know, our black cat villager, based on the movie Kiki's Delivery Service. Isn't that cute? I completely forgot about this villager. But past again, this is not live. Hey, look, it's double me. Our Halloween costume from like 3 years ago was Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. Isn't that neat? It's almost like it's a sign from the stars or whatever. So, I originally thought that and was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But, when this happened, I didn't actually plan to pick up Kiki. I was like, that's neat, but I don't actually. Again, they fill some of my criteria, And then I checked my Nook tickets and was like, okay, I've got 2 more rolls of the dice. Fuck it, let's get Kiki. So yes, our new villager on our island is Kiki. Well, yes, they basically fit every criteria. I would have preferred a big sister over, I think they're normal. I would have preferred big sister, but technically they fit everything else. So fuck it. Yeah, let's do Kiki. I guess, you know when you know. Alright, so with that, so she was at the parallel cannon. I had told her, hey, you're gonna like the Splatana. Because she mostly plays dualies. However, she plays very close range, and she doesn't dodge roll. Like, as much as she likes the dualies, she never dodge rolls. So I told her, like, hey, you should try out the Splatana. When she first started playing online, I was like, hey, you should try the Splatana. That's a weapon you're gonna like. And she was like, whatever. She did her first run of the Splatana earlier in the week. Because I've been telling her to use the different weapons. Because now she can consistently get past the 10th floor. I'm like, okay, now that you can consistently do this, you need to start using different weapons to get keys. So she tried out the Splatana, did a run, it went good. And then, this was earlier in the week without me. This time I came in, she was at the 20th floor with the Splatana. And yeah, she was able to beat the parallel cannon. She had to make some tricky choices. She made it all the way up to floor 30. She got to the Overlorder? Yeah, she got to the Overlorder. Bob's our male, and hey, we do have a third female Coco. I kind of completely forgot about that. So, she got to the Overlorder. Phase 1 and 2, she beat almost immediately. She beat Phase 1 and 2 on basically her first try. So then that led us to Phase 3. She had 4 lives, because she went in with full lives. Plus, she had to continue. So she had 8 lives to do this. The first 4 lives, she blows through them, she loses. Alright, okay, real quick, one more pause. Technically, that's basically where the video ends. So let me pull up some other footage. I don't want to boot up a game or anything. I think I have some Splatoon footage. I think this is from Salmon Run So Salmon Run did an event earlier. They did a what's the work called? Extra work. Same day. This was the same day. I sat down, I played some extra work, and I recorded it just for the hell of it. So, fuck it. Because I kind of knew... I recorded this after the Animal Crossing thing. I don't know why I thought the Animal Crossing thing was an hour in my head. You know, we'll do this until I decide where to stop. But, okay. So, she got to the Overlorder. First 4 lives went down like that. She lost. Second set of 4 lives, she destroys 3 of the 4, orbs protecting the Overlorder. She destroys more than half of them, but what keeps killing her is the nozzle nose, or not the H3 nozzle nose. You know where it shoots, 3 beams out at you? You know, kind of like the stingrays, or... I can't remember what the weapon's called. It's not the nozzle nose, but it's something like that. The Overlorder shoots 3 of those out at you. She cannot run away from that attack fast enough. No matter how much she tries to escape, she ends up just getting killed by it. So that attack's killing all of her runs. That's where she's really struggling. The second thing that's causing her to struggle is the reef sliders. It throws 3 or 4 reef sliders at you, and she's just struggling to get through them. So she has 3 runs that each get within 1, but she just can't do it. Right, one of those 2 attacks kills her. Finally, on the 4th attempt, oh shit! I just got jump scared. My headphones are low, and I just got jump scared by them telling me the battery's low. So she gets to she gets through it. She gets to the final attempt, final life. She goes in. she's able to take out all of the things. She beats them all, and I've been, you know, I tell her she's got the crab tank because she's using the Splatana, and I'm like, the crab tank is OP. Use it as much as possible. I tell her to basically just focus on the enemies, and then once she gets, because she's got a bunch of lucky chips, so she can get the canned specials. I'm like, just use the canned specials on the lucky chips. And just so that way you can use the canned specials to destroy the orb. And then on your own, you know, just fight the enemies. And it works well. She gets through all 4 of the orbs, breaks his health bar, uses the crab tank, gets him down to like 90% health. Then she runs up and she starts hitting the Overlorder with the Splatana Stamper. 99% of the health. She gets 99% of the way there. And then a random enemy kills her. I can't remember if it was a random enemy or if it was like the gunk shots from the Overlorder. She was there. It should have been a successful run. I actually think it's... because he was completely covered. It was green. It was covered in green ink. The Overlorder was covered. I think she should have gotten it. I think it's kind of bullshit that she didn't. It was a really good run. From her first ever time beating floor 20, yeah, no, I really thought she was going to do it. It was a really impressive run. But the thing is, she ran out of ink because she was playing so close range. You know, there were enemies swarmed up on her. If she hadn't run out of ink, she was probably 2, maybe 3 hits away. It was so fucking close. I think she's got it. I legitimately do think that in like 2 to 3 runs, she'll probably beat it. She just needs good runs. She needs good chip layouts. I've kind of gotten her on the... because I did one run for her. You know, after talking about it, she was like, oh, why don't you, you know, show me a little bit, do a run. So I used the Brella. She hates the Brella, by the way. That's like, even since the second game, she's hated the Brella. So I was like, okay, I'll do a Brella run. I go in, and my main thing was just to get her pearls. I didn't care if the run was successful. You know, she can always use some more pearls. So I go for chip set bonus. So I go for exclusively support chips. And I actually have a really good run with just support chips. I'm getting a lot of support chips. I had Splat Bombs, Burst Bombs, and I think Sprinkler was my third. Because she's only got 3 drone slots. So I think it might have been Killer Whale, but I think it was Sprinkler. Which Sprinkler's not that great, honestly. But, you know, I worked with what it was giving me. I had a run that was entirely green chips. And by this point, she hadn't killed... This was before. This was an earlier run. And so I was like, I'll get you to 420. But then I was going to intentionally lose at 420. So I get her to 420. I go in. And then I'm like, I'm not going to fire a single shot. Fighting the parallel cannon, I'm not going to fire a single shot. I'm just going to dodge. And if the parallel cannon's going to die, it has to be killed by the drone. Right? The Pearl drone. And guess what? Even though I was just dodging and letting the Pearl drone do all the damage, with a combination of Splat Bombs and Burst Bombs, maybe it might have been Ink Mines. Ink Mines might have been the third. I don't remember. Somehow with a combination of those 3 chips, it was able to be, without firing a single shot, it beat the parallel cannon. Which was not my intention at all. Somehow that's just how it worked out. She was blown away by that. Because I was fully expecting to lose the run. Because that's the first time I've ever beaten the parallel cannon without firing a single... Because while I like the idea of a run where you never fire a single shot, that sounds like a lot of fun. I've never actually done it before, because it kind of seems like a pain in the ass. But to beat the parallel cannon without a single shot, I was not expecting that. So that was my one successful run from her. And then I told her, like, after that, I was like, okay, I should not have done that. From here on out, I'm not going to fire a single shot for the rest of the run. And I'm only going to pick the hard... that entire run, while I was trying to keep the chipset bonus, I was also trying to pick the hardest stages. You know, rigorous, hazard level, danger. So for 21, I pick a danger level. And I was 2 lives down by this point, by the way. Because I was intentionally not buying any extra lives or anything. Again, I would say it's a run for me to show off, but it was mostly just to get her pearls. And so, I'm doing that. I pick a danger one. And it's one of the tower ones where, you know, you have to... It's the one where there's the floating platform in the middle and you have to, like, take the tower up and around. And so I'm doing that. Floor 21. I'm doing that. And the danger element, no drone. So I had to beat that level without shooting and without the drone, of which I only had drone chips. And it was impossible. So I lost right there. And yeah, that was the run. It still got her like 160 pearls or something wild like that. Of course, like, if you get full, like, tone bonus, if you get, like, all chips, same color, tone bonus, you get, like, 900 pearls. But either way, you know, for, like, a run where I maybe at most had, like, 20 chips, still getting 160 for beating just 420, or, like, 150, 160, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So that was the one run I did for her. But of course, since then, you know, she's been able to surpass it. And yeah, I think within the next week, she's going to beat a run. I don't know if she's going to stop after that. I could very much see her being like, oh, well, I beat the run. No, I'm not going to play anymore, you know. Because I think part of the fun of it is that you keep doing runs with different weapons. But, I don't know. I'm trying to convince her to do Pikmin, by the way. Off stream, or on stream, I think it'd be very funny to have her do Pikmin. I kind of think I'd maybe have her do the original, skip 2, and go do 3, and maybe we do 3 together, and then have her just do 4. Or, you know, I do the camera in 4, or whatever. Multiplayer in 4 is dumb. It's like Mario Galaxy multiplayer. It's kind of dumb. But yeah, I'm trying to convince her to do Pikmin on the stream. She knows what Pikmin is. I know I've mentioned it to her. But, yeah, I think that'd be very fun. I'm also trying to convince her to just let me, like, bring, like, a laptop over and record her doing a run of Side Order, and then us watching that on stream. I also think that would be very neat to, you know, just have pre-recorded background footage of one of her runs. Because the only thing I've ever actually showed from her is her backtracking history through Tears of the Kingdom. Which, to be fair, I got a kick out of that. That was, oh my gosh, that was a lot of fun. Well, you know, we'll see. I don't expect anything to happen, but I think that'd be funny. So I guess that's that. Let me... You know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about audiobook show, or book I've been reading, / audiobook. So, I've, for a while, been seeing this book called Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's a book about a guy named Carl who's crawling through the dungeon. Oh wow, very explanatory. There's like 7 of these books. I admittedly do not remember where I first heard about them. Probably TikTok, but I couldn't actually tell you. But they kind of, you know, it's like fantasy, sci-fi. It seemed right up my alley. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's give it a try. So I picked up the first one, which I think is just called Dungeon Crawler Carl. And yeah, I liked it. If I had to compare it to any, I'm most of the way through it. I think it's like a 13-hour audiobook, and I think I'm like 10 hours in, something like that. And I'm enjoying it. The thing I would compare it to is, weirdly enough, Hitchhikers. Not that it's like, I don't think it's anything like a Douglas Adams book, by the way. Like, that's maybe just like saying it reminds me of Hitchhikers is a little misleading. Yeah, I opened up Audible. I am 10 hours into the book. 10 hours and 3 minutes, and I've got 3 hours left. So if you've ever, you know, read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it starts off with, you know, the world ending. And, right, they go off into space and they're hitchhiking. And, you know, so much other shit happens. This book kind of starts with the world ending, that the corporation that's Borat. I know there's the mud skippers, who, I can't remember what they're actually called. There's the mud skippers, who are part of the Borat Corporation, which is part of the Syndicate, which I think the Syndicate is the galactic government, if I remember correctly, and the Borat Corporation is part of that, and the Borat Corporation is fish people, who, I can't remember what the fish people are actually called, but within the fish people there is the party, which is basically just Nazis, and spoiler alert for, I guess, the first 10 hours of the first book. But you find out that the party is basically about to go bankrupt, as is the Borat Corporation, and so, you know, because they're Nazis and whatnot, everything sucks. But yeah, it starts with the Syndicate, the Borat Corporation. They destroy the world. Basically, they flatten the entire planet, and anyone who was inside died. So, it went from a planet of, 7 billion people down to, I want to say, 24 million is how the book starts. Because they flatten the entire world, and then they use everything in the world to make a dungeon. And it's a 15-floor dungeon built inside the planet. And they basically set up that this is a thing that's been planned for 90 years now. This is a thing that's been in planning for a long time. And basically the aliens come to the planet and they start seeding popular culture. So that way when people actually get into the dungeon, they're like, oh, I've read Lord of the Rings. I know what a goblin is. Oh, I know what this and that is. Right? They kind of set up popular culture. They make RPGs and whatnot. Because basically, Carl is a dungeon crawler, but he's in a video game. They're down in a dungeon style. I mean, is it an isekai? You know how isekai is, oh, I died and now I get transported to a new world? This is the opposite. Everybody else died and the world became strange and weird. But yeah, so he goes into this dungeon and it's him and his cat, his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, who the girlfriend's 100% alive. I know the cat keeps mentioning that, oh, wait until we see Beatrice again. Oh, Lady B, And I know that's they frame it as oh, that's just the cat's coping mechanism, that he thinks she's still alive, that the cat, yeah, she thinks she's still alive. She is 100% still alive. They have checked off this gun way too much. It's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna be in this book. Again, there's 7 of these released in 5 years. She's 100% alive. I refuse to believe, even though, again, they start off with 24 million in the dungeon, or something like that. And then by the time they get through just the first floor, it takes 7 days to get through the first floor. It's down to 1 million. So we get that. Currently where I'm at, they're on the second floor. The second floor closes in 5 days. And they're helping out elderly people. They at some point, there was basically a retirement home where someone activated the fire alarm, so all the elderly people were evacuated, and that's when the world ended. And so they brought all the elderly people into the dungeon, and now it's the 4 caretakers trying to, keep them alive. Which, there's one of them, the person who started the fire, Agatha, is this crazy homeless lady. She's definitely a setup. I don't know what the setup's going to be. She's a game maker, she works for Boring, an admin. I don't know where they're going with it, but they're definitely going, like, she's something. Right now, they think she's dead because she goes down to the second floor without them, and they don't, like, see her on the map or anything. She's something. She's something important. They very clearly have set that up. But yeah, it's, you know, it's an RPG, it's got sci-fi elements, it's got a Twitch, it's not a Twitch chat, but because this is like a future sci-fi streaming out to a galaxy of, you know, trillions of people. People watch these shows for entertainment, and basically they can watch what people do. And you get, like, followers, you get, you know, people can favorite you, people can like, not comments, they do, like, talk shows and whatnot. But yeah, it's interesting. It is an interesting book. I have been enjoying it well enough. It definitely, like, it's not at, like, you know, I think of, like, Ready Player One, where it's like, hey, we're gonna be, like, this cool, like, sci-fi fantasy video game thing. But it's just fucking pop culture references, and it's fucking shallow as hell, because that's all they've got is pop culture references, and it's nothing deeper than that. It's like, hey, Thundercats is a thing. Hey, War Games was a movie. Like, at least, like, the Ready Player One book fucking sucks. The Steven Spielberg movie is better in so many ways. Not that that movie's perfect either, but at least that movie's actually, like, pretending to have a story, whereas the book does nothing. And God, don't even get me started on the second one. But, like, this, like, yeah, there are references to things. There's a whole achievement thing, where as they play through the dungeon and they do certain things, they get achievements. And I could, depending on your taste, the achievements are either going to be really funny or really annoying. That all comes down to, you know, how you feel about these things. Personally, they're sometimes annoying, but sometimes they can be funny. Like, again, spoiler alert for the book. Something that really, there's dungeon bosses. There's different types of dungeon bosses. And at one point they go to kill the goblin dungeon boss. And they have the idea of, like, oh, let's not even fight it. Let's just go in and we'll push in a cart with explosives. And then we'll plant a C4 on it. It'll blow up once it's in the room and just kill the dungeon boss. Like, that's their brilliant plan to get past the boss. So they do that. The cat the cat can talk, by the way. I don't know if I've said that up until this point. The moment the cat followed him into the dungeon, I was like, at some point that cat's going to gain the ability to speak. And sure enough, after they do the tutorial guild, they meet Mordecai, the cat gets the ability to speak. Like, of course, I saw that coming almost instantly. And the cat kind of can be annoying, but also they do make it clear that, like, the cat's trying. Like, it's trying to be less annoying. The cat, even though it's like, it's better than Carl, because it was like a show cat. Like, it did, like, cat shows and, you know, beauty pageants and whatnot. It's trying. Sometimes Princess Donut's okay. Sometimes she's annoying, but I can kind of say the same thing about Carl. Like, they set up very early on that, like, hey, you don't say anything bad about the Syndicate, or else they will strike you down. And so Carl meets an admin for the first time and immediately says something bad about the Syndicate. And I was like, shut the fuck up, Carl. Like, I get it, you don't want to be here, but you could have stopped at floor 1. But okay, so they're gonna explode the cart. That's their plan to kill the boss. The cat opens the door, they throw the carton, they hide around the corner, and then they blow it up. But right before they blow it up, the cat's like, Carl asks, like, oh, did you see the boss was inside? And the cat's like, yep, I did. He pushes the trigger, and the cat's like, oh, but there were also a bunch of toddlers and babies in there. And he's like, what? God damn it, Donut. And yeah, and then he gets, like, achievements for, like, baby killer and whatnot. And just the way some of that stuff is written, I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. I mean, it's super fucked up, but it's aware it's fucked up, and, like, I don't know. There are moments like that where it's like, okay, you can have a good laugh with it. Don't really like the foot fetish stuff. And, like, it knows it's weird, because, like, the AI that, like, reads the achievements has, like, different voices. And there's a foot fetish voice that's, like, intentionally creepy. So I don't really like that one. And I do like some of the mechanics of how, like, the game... Because it's like a video game, right? Where it's, like, it's a video game and it's a TV show. So as a result, you know how, like... There's a whole thing in, like, MMORPGs that, like, if you say, like, oh, I really want this item, it'll never give you that item because, you know, it knows you'll pay more money for it. I can't remember what it's called. It's got a certain... That mechanic's got a certain name. I think it's like a greed filter or something like that. Yeah, this thing works the same way. It's like, hey, if you want something and if you say it, you're not going to get it. But there are loot boxes. The loot boxes aren't random. And they're just trying to make something interesting. So Carl, he doesn't have pants. Because, you know, he went out in his underwear to catch the cat early at night, or late at night. So that's why he doesn't have pants. And he keeps mentioning it. And as long as people think that's funny, he's never going to get pants. Same thing with the cat. He keeps getting torches in the loot box. And every time she complains, that just means she's more likely to get torches. Like, I think stuff like that's interesting, like, some of, like, the entertainment aspects, and I'm really glad there's not, like, a Twitch chat. Like, I could see a Twitch chat being kind of annoying. Even if someone on, probably Tumblr, had the idea for, like, an isekai, but the main character in the isekai has, like, a Twitch chat, and the Twitch chat's, like, trying to help him survive in this isekai fantasy world. And, like, that's I could definitely see that being an interesting idea for a book. Or a show, or a book would probably be the best. Maybe a webcomic. But I'm kind of glad there isn't a Twitch chat. But I like that there are still, like, references. You know, they go on a talk show at one point. And so we find out, like, oh yeah, even though they're not getting featured on the main show, they're getting featured on other stuff. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying it well enough. I don't know. There are 7 of these books, and I admittedly do not know if they're still making more. I would not be surprised if they keep going, but I do wonder where this one's gonna end. Because I know you find out early on that, you know, Mordecai, their tutorial guy, used to be a crawler. He was a crawler centuries ago. And then after doing his service as a crawler, you know, he made it down to the 10th floor, past that. And then that allowed him to, in the next version of the dungeon, he can become like a tutorial guy, or, you know, some other important NPC. But, you know, all the NPCs are past crawlers. And Mordecai's just one dungeon, you know, this is his last tutorial. And then he gets to retire. The talk show host lady used to be a crawler, and then she was a tutorial guide before she eventually became a talk show. So there's clearly, like, this overcomplicated, like, political aspect of everything. Like, there's so much more going on at play here. So I do wonder, like, they bring up early on that there are 15 floors to the dungeon, but nobody's ever made it past floor 13. And only one person has ever gone down to floor 13, and they didn't survive. Oh, that's where I ended off. They mentioned... Okay, so, because this dungeon happens over and over again, and one of the previous versions of the dungeon, they noticed that people kept, like, pissing in the hallways. So in this version, they're like, okay, we've given you bathrooms, but people keep pissing in the hallways. And that includes, right, because they're helping out the people with all the seniors. One of the senior citizens keeps pissing in the hallways. And now that they're on the second floor, the admins are fed up with people pissing in the hallway. So if you piss in the hallway, it summons a level 13 enemy, like a floor 13 enemy, that will instantly kill you and everyone in your party. And that's where the thing ended, that's where the chapter I was reading ended off. With him, with one of the old guys pissing in the hallway. And it was going to summon that level 13. That's where I stopped. I couldn't tell you what chapter that was, but that was the last thing I remember reading, was that. Yep. I do, because, like, because it's a TV show and whatnot, after every episode of the TV show airs, they do, there are, like, patch notes for the game, And I think that's neat. Like, I like the patch notes. I like that, you know, like, because there's, like, a whole inventory system. People were using, like, the inventory system to, like, they were putting people into it and then closing it to the head people, which, if you've ever seen the podcast Dungeons and Daddies, they use a bag of beholding to decapitate a vampire. And, like, that's not how that works at all, but it's Dungeons and Daddies. They don't play by the rules at all. The rogue never uses sneak attack once. And it's a great D&D podcast. Because everyone's having fun. That's some... you know, we're just going till the end of this run, by the way. That's a thing. I think we're going till the end of this run. I know at some point in this recording I have a successful run. So we're just going to go until that. So Dimension 20 has been doing a webcomic version of Fantasy High Freshman Year. And I've been reading it on the weekly. I'll be honest, I have not listened to Fantasy High in a long time. So it kind of, like, it's not all fresh, and I do like some of the changes they're making. But it makes me really want to listen to Fantasy High again. And they're doing Cloud Wave Home or something like that. The Intrepid Adventurers are doing a new season, but they're like steampunk. And I'm kind of like, I really need to listen to Fantasy High. You know, I want to re-listen to Freshman Year. I want to listen to Sophomore in Junior Year. I really, at some point, need to go back and listen to Fantasy High, because I've only ever listened to the first season, and that was when it was airing at the time. So that was a long time ago. Yeah, I was in Dropout at round level. But then again, I've been a college. God. So yeah, I was thinking about that recently. I was like, I need to listen to that. I don't know. I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw something, and I got the Kipper Lily Copper Kettle stuck in my head again. Because God, that fucking name. And I don't know. I was just thinking about it. Again, I think it was something I saw on TikTok that was talking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, Kipper Lily Copper Kettle. What a fucking name. Truly. Alright, is that it? Is that all I gotta talk about? I think that's it. Let's just go to the outro. Whatever, this is our final wave. Whatever. If this is where I win, then I win. If this is where I lose. I know at some point there's a successful run in here, spoiler alert. I know, the problem with this one is there's so many enemies that spawn down here, but it's really hard to kill them all and then take their eggs back. That was the problem with the 5th wave here. Is like, look at how many eggs are here. And we're at most going to bring back 10% of these. Because that's just kind of how this level is designed. Because there's just so much shit spawning. So what's coming up in the future? Next week we are starting Mario Sunshine. I have already decided next week we're playing Mario Sunshine. I have the game again. I've really been wanting to play it. So next week, 100%, we're doing Mario Sunshine. We are not beating Mario Sunshine next week. Not a chance in hell. Because there is so much to that game. Mario Sunshine is... I want to say you need like 50 shines to beat that game. So at most it's going to take like 2 or 3 streams. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played. But I do want to give it another go. I've just been in the mood to play it. What can I say? Alright, there we go. Successful wave. Alright. So we're going to start Mario Sunshine. And then the Switch 2 comes out in like 20 days. I think it's closer to like 17. It's right around the corner. Of course, right? I didn't spend an hour today not defending Nintendo, but explaining them, to not talk about it. So I want to say this got us 196 eggs as bronze rank, because I think 188 was the cutoff for bronze rank, and then the next rank up was like 210. So yeah, there we go on that. Again, I recorded this last week. I didn't know when. Can I be honest? I record shit all the time, and I never know when I'm going to use it. Like, I have had pre-recorded footage of me doing Darker Side in Mario Odyssey since we played it like a year ago, or I guess probably back, not a year. It's been like 6 months. Back in late December, early January, we played Mario Odyssey, and after we beat the game on my own time, I went back and I did all 500 moons to get to Darker Side, and I recorded my playthrough of Darker Side. And I'm just like, one of these days we're just gonna watch that. But I have been sitting on it for months now. And I think that's only like 30 minutes. Like, we could have done that tonight. But yeah. So that's where I'm gonna end off for the night, you know. We will be back next week with Sunshine. Anything else? I don't know. We're getting close to Summer Games Fest. The Switch 2 comes out on the 5th. Summer Games Fest is the 6th. So that's like the following day. So at some point we're gonna have to do predictions for Switch 2 for Summer Games Fest and whatnot. But we'll do that in the future. So with that, I'm ending off there. I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time. Peace.